Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to episode 6 of the Deacon Board podcast. Tonight, I have with me my brother from another mother, even though we could be from the same mother, Dr. James Hassel. Dr. James Hassel, Bishop-elect James Hassel, the presiding prelate of Salt and Light Fellowship Churches, pastor of Kingdom Christian Cultural Centers, plural, there's more than one, in New York, Syracuse, all over the globe, my brother James Hassel. And then I also have Bishop Amir, big man, big AMA, 6'10", 300 and I don't know how much you weigh now, Amir. You losing weight like me, so 300 some odd pound. Bishop Amir May, he's the pastor of why do I want to call it Abundant Faith Ministries in Charlotte, North Carolina. He is the overseer of, what is your title in Dubai? He's the director of missions for the Church of God in Christ over Dubai. He has been my friend for, what is all that? No, he has been my friend for we met in 1996 at Abundant Life in Raleigh, North Carolina. He's part of the Brat Pack there. So Amir, what's going on, man? Get off the phone, man, and listen. He can't hear me. He is on the phone typing. Amir! He's on the phone typing. I might have to, he can't hear me for some reason. I'll try to get this joker on the phone. Let me see what he's doing. He can't hear nothing. Hassel, what's going on, man? While I'm trying to get him to get his stuff fixed.
I'm chilling. It's fall in New York,
I can't hear you.
Changing.
Oh,
can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Amir,
I can hear you.
You can hear me? Amir can't hear either one of us.
Amir can't hear either one of us, huh? Can you hear us? Amir, you can't hear for real? Because if you can't hear, you may need to reset your earbuds. It's probably his earbuds, but don't try to listen to it on Facebook Live. Listen to it through StreamYard on the broadcast on your computer. All right, so he has some technical difficulty. We're gonna get him situated. But James, you're saying it's fall in New York right now?
Yeah, it's fall in New York. The leaves are changing, and it's what we live with up here. I love it. I like the Four Seasons.
Well, I mean, I like the Four Seasons too, but the hotel. I don't like the Four Seasons where I have to live. Well, I mean, it's the truth, I mean, I lived in Arizona for so long that the Four Seasons now are very difficult for me. I just can't. I can't do Four Seasons. Amir, can you hear us now, man?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right, there you go. I gave you this big glowing introduction, and you were sitting there on your phone like nothing. Like like I didn't say a word to you, man. It was probably the dopest introduction you'll ever get from anyone. But you're gonna have to go back and get it again because I'm like, what? I was like, this Negro's not even listening. So again, for those, so he can hear it, he is the pastor of Abundant Faith Ministries in Huntersville, North Carolina. He is the overseer of missions for the Church of God in Christ in Dubai. He just came back from Dubai, so I want to hear about that experience because I have a question for him about a video that he posted. But everybody give it up for my man Amir May now that he can hear. Yeah, we don't have the sound effects.
I'll put my sound effects. I'll do it.
You got the sound effects on. So Hassel was just saying this fall up in New York. So fall in New York it makes my bones quiver. It makes my body quiver, as that song used to say. But Amir, you're from Michigan, so I mean you like the Four Seasons too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, how are you dealing with Carolina and not having the Four Seasons?
Man, it's I like the Fourth, especially around Christmas, man. Thanksgiving, you want to have that cold, want to put your Timbs on. You want to do that kind of stuff.
I mean, you can wear your Timbs down here now. I know brothers that wear Timbs all year long down here, so
right.
What you gonna do? So listen, tonight, we're just gonna have a conversation. We talked about a few things. There's one piece that I may not hit tonight because it's a little controversial, but I want to talk about, the role of the Black church during the pandemic. And then, where do we go now? What are we going to do in the future? Because we can't go back to church like we were in the past. So we're not going to do that. I want to talk about Kyrie Irving and you know his situation going on with him not being vaccinated and dealing with the Nets in his contract or the NBA in his contract, and you know, I mean, I see how Amir played pro ball, so I definitely want to see how he feels about that, being a former professional basketball player and knowing the NBA the way that he does. And then I want to get into I was sitting on a conference call today about minority lending. It was an interesting webinar, I should say, on how the black homeownership rate in 2021 is lower than it was in the 1960s and 70s, which is a problem. But all these companies are touting their diversity initiatives, their CRA initiatives, but I think they're going about it the wrong way, and I also think it's a little disingenuous. So we'll touch on that a little later. But first up, let's talk about Dave Chappelle. Have you both seen the special, the Netflix special?
I saw it. Me and my wife, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I said that with my chest.
It was funny.
It was typical Chappelle, nothing different, and it was brilliant.
I agree. What about you, Amir? What'd you think about that?
I loved it.
And there were no lies told. The entire matter of fact, what they're doing to him right now is exactly his point. It's exactly his point. You know, it's why are we trying to cancel people because they have differing opinions of you? One, and two, why are you trying to make me like? Now, he didn't say he didn't like the people, but why are you trying to make me endorse what you do? It's your business what you do. I don't care who you sleep with. I don't care who you don't sleep with. I don't even care what you want to call yourself, but don't try to force me to do what you do, like what you like, be what you be. That's your business. And there used to be a time, and I might get canceled for saying this, but I don't care. I'm not getting paid from this. This is just my opinion. There used to be a time where what you did, I don't care if you are a homosexual, if you were an adulterer, if you were an abuser, if you were a smoker, if you were a drinker, you did it in the privacy of your own space, and everybody didn't know your business. And something happened. Something happened to us as a society where everybody has to know everybody's business, and it just doesn't make sense to me. And my opinion is, let people be who they're going to be. I don't care what you do. I don't care what you're going to do, what you do, who you do. That's not your business. I got to worry about mine. I need to worry about my own business. I don't know. That's just me. I don't know. Y'all, what do y'all feel about that? How do y'all feel about it? About what he was saying?
Well, I agree. I agree totally. And you said something about Chappelle, man. I love Chappelle, and he absolutely, what he said was very true. The baby didn't get canceled for, I guess he shot somebody at Walmart or whooped somebody at Walmart, but he got canceled for talking about the LGBT community. I think, first of all, we give the LGBT community too much power, too much attention. I think they need to be ignored. It's a small percentage of it, but they're in strategic places. I think the church should be able to learn from them. If we unify like the LGBT community, we'll be a powerful piece.
Ooh. And Chappelle said the same thing. He's like, look, we don't hate you. We jealous.
Right.
Because, we've been trying to be liberated and to get equity and the things we're about to talk about for over 400 years, but we haven't been able to gain traction because, for a multitude of reasons, but in particular, we just haven't been able to unite. And they have found a way to organize, and it's a movement. And they're to be commended for their movement.
Correct.
As a political movement, we admire their tactics. They understand how power works, and they're not fighting against Jim Crow,
right?
And Willie Lynch principles. They're fighting they're fighting God actually. And I'm not saying they're winning. I'm saying that, and what he said, and I'm again. Listen, if we all get canceled for this interview, it's fine. But the point was that Chappelle was making was that, they can basically call themselves minorities, all, the whole line, and go with us as minorities until they need to be white again. And then that white privilege kicks back in, and now we're not a part of their movement. And I think he said, I resent that. And
Right.
and that's his right to express that. Well, I'm not a comedian, I'm a preacher. I don't have the freedom of a comedian.
Right.
I don't have that liberty. There's times I hear my favorite comedians talk, and I'd be like, "Dag, if I had that liberty, Don, I would say some things, but I can't."
Yeah, I understand that. I don't have that liberty either, and I'm not a preacher, but there's some things that I just can't say.
Right.
And I'm pretty much wide open. I say what I want to say for the most part, but then there's some things where I'm just like, I can't do that because I need my bag. At the end of the day, I need my bag. But you know what? Here's another thing though that I found interesting this week: the situation with John Gruden in the NFL. The NFL was okay with him talking about that black man's lips and calling him, saying he had lips the size of Michelin tires, and they didn't do anything about him until he said something about the LGBTQ community. I mean, there was really not. It was kind of like it was real quiet. It was real quiet when it first came out. Oh yeah, he said this about DeMaurice Smith, and DeMaurice said what he had to say, but it didn't catch fire until the rest of those emails came out, and he started talking about the LGBTQ community, or I don't know the whole alphabet, man. Forgive me, I don't know all of them.
But here's the thing, Don. The issue with racism is about being.
Right.
And the issue with LGBTQ is not about being. It's about choice.
Okay.
It's about human will. And I used to be a conspiracy theorist and all about the whole Illuminati thing, but there was one theme through the whole thing, and it was a Luciferian principle called do what thou wilt. And this was the underlying thing of all of the stuff that I found, and all of the music, all the art, all of the political things, was that the only law in Satanism is do what thou wilt. And anyone who infringes upon your free will is an enemy to you.
Okay.
And
all
so
right.
this is why they got a problem with Kyrie. Because which I'll say this way, this is why they don't have a problem with Kyrie right now. They had a problem with him when they were saying shut up and play basketball,
right?
Because he had opinions about Black Lives Matter, all of that. Shut up and play basketball. But now that he won't take the vaccine, this is an exercise of free will, and it falls along with that agenda. And so therefore now he's got all these people saying we're on your side, the same people who wanted to cancel him when he was talking about Black Lives Matter.
Right. The Tommy Lauren crowd and the Fox News crowd. Now all of a sudden he's a hero because he doesn't want to go along with Biden's vaccine mandate. So now he's a hero to the conservatives and the Republicans because his body, his choice. But that same principle doesn't apply to women when they want to do it with their bodies, their choice. It's interesting. It's interesting how they switch sides. I guess politics is that game. It's really a game. It's a game. You have to know which side of the board you're playing on at all times because it can switch on you really quick.
I just want to know whose babies these women are aborting.
I don't know. I'm not touching that. I'm not even gonna touch that.
I'm just saying, like, it's all connected
to
me. It's all connected to me. And the truth is that the church, the evangelical church, which I'm not a part of, I haven't been invited to that club. I'm way too radical. But the evangelical church is a 2-issue church. It's about homosexuality and abortion. They don't want to talk about racism. They don't want to talk about inequity. They don't want to talk about poverty. They don't want to talk about corruption in government. They don't want to deal with any of those. They just want to talk about homosexuality and abortion. Those two are their pet issues, and they think that that's all that's in the Bible. And that's not the Bible I read. That's not the Bible I read. It's bigger than that.
But I mean, why don't they want to talk about? Well, they only want to talk about racism when it's convenient. When the whole Black Lives Matter thing popped off and the George Floyd thing popped off, because there were so many. There's so many of these evangelical churches that rely on Black people to work in these churches, because they want our music, they want our talent that I believe they were forced to say something about the Black Lives Matter. And those that didn't, some of them paid a hefty price. I mean, they really didn't pay a price for it. They caught some flack online, but that doesn't mean anything because that's not their audience. They can care less.
I mean, but the vast majority of those churches are not integrated. So, what you came from a perspective as if, some large percentage of them were integrated. Some of them didn't give a rat's
ass. I'll say ass. He can't.
Yeah,
I'm the preacher's cursor tonight.
All right, so good. So we don't have to beep anything. Let me give you some applause for that. But they really don't care about those issues because they're not affected. It's indifference. It's really not even an active, I'm going to ignore it. It doesn't affect them. Their lives are not centered around those issues. Right. And it includes homosexuality. But the abortion thing, I got to tell you something, that they're talking loud. But if you look at where those things are happening, they're happening in those evangelical communities also. And so they're saying the right things for the microphones, but they're not doing that in the background. They're hypocrites.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of the conservative party. Remember, back a few years ago, a couple of Republican congressmen were, anti-gay, but come to find out, they were gay themselves. I mean, I hate to say it, but there are a couple of black preachers that were like that. That they were anti-gay, come to find out that they were gay themselves. It is. I'm not going to fade to black when I say it either. It is. It is what it is. My thing is, be who you are at all times. Be who you are at all times. Stop being fake. And part of the problem right now that a lot of churches are having, especially black churches with the younger crowd, is they don't like the hypocrites. They don't like people being one way on Sunday morning and then they see them out and they're another way. Just be who yourself. And I think, my two guests here, James has been up here many times. He's not even the guest. My co-host, and then Amir, they are who they are all the time. When you see them up on Sunday morning, it's who they are Monday through Friday. And that goes along. But that's why your churches are thriving the way that they are also. That's exactly why your churches are thriving the way they are. So Amir, what's your take on this whole Kyrie situation? Since you're an ex-pro player, and you can probably still dunk on a 7-foot rim.
It's the plantation period. It's the plantation. I mean, it's the NFL, the NBA. It's all the plantation, man.
Really,
the independent thinker, the independent black man to think on his own, to make his own decisions, has always been public enemy number one.
Okay.
If you're rich and got a little money and you can think you're on your own, you're a dangerous man. And if you don't play by their rules, you out. That's why they were so intimidated by Isaiah Thomas, Allen Iverson. All these kind of guys, you see, they always, you got to play by their rule or you out. That's point blank. And the only thing we can do, even in 2021, is protest. We can't do nothing but protest because we won't come together and bring our resources together and make our own Negro Basketball Association. We'd rather pray for somebody else. There's nowhere in the world we should have our own league.
Right, it's ours. I mean,
there's nowhere in the world we should have our own league. But we're ready to play for somebody else.
So let's move it a little closer to home, right? Hassel and I were just talking about this online. We were just talking about the little city we grew up in, how we probably could count 15 churches in a mile radius. So everybody's fighting over the same $200 a week. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The $200 to $2,000 per week, instead of having, the one church with all the members where everybody's concentrated and that power is concentrated. We can't do that. So what are we doing? What happened to our sense of community, and why is it that everybody has to be the captain of the ship, the pastor of the church? What's going on with that? All right. Oh, both of y'all. No, now both of y'all quiet.
No, we thinking about your question. Yeah, because that's not where I thought you was going with that.
Right.
I think though that there is a lack of teaching about how the kingdom is supposed to operate, and that many of us think that the pastor model senior pastor, that there's got to be one in charge, and that we don't identify other people's gifts. I think it's a function. I think the dysfunction of the church in America, and the Black church in particular, is a function of what they're not being taught, and that there are different models for the church that can be better used. And really, the institution of the church as we know it is not biblical anymore. It's
Right.
just not.
Right.
The home church is where it's supposed to be, but the institutional Black church is a thing because of the way our country is set up, and that our ability to gather, the only place in our communities where there's a regular gathering of Black people is in the Black church. And since we're not monolithic,
Yeah.
we don't all think the same. We all go to different churches because some of us like dancing on our tiptoes for 3 hours. Some of us are intellectuals. Some of us, there's different preferences, and so you go where you prefer. But I think that the leadership of those churches have to understand the power that's invested into them by the community, and that their cooperation, their collective voice, collective prophetic voice is what's missing, is because we think we're in competition.
Right. And if we have a business model, if you notice, wherever there's an Olive Garden, there's a Red Lobster. The Red Lobster Olive Garden. And most of us, if we knew what we offer and who we were called to, we wouldn't care who's doing what. But that crab mentality is infused in the Black community, and it's really sad because we got a lot of cats that's passing that really shouldn't be passing at all.
I agree.
I mean, that is very.
I didn't
true.
mean to scoff on your line, but that was really bad scoff, because it's true. Many of us may not be called a pastor. Maybe we're called to do something else for the kingdom, but someone put a battery in our back, and now we're out there suffering in a position that we don't need to be suffering in.
Right.
I mean, we see it, and I'm not making light of anybody, the size of anyone's church, but it doesn't make sense for you to be paying rent on a place where you only gathering 20 people a month. You know what I'm saying? You can do that in your house.
And that's economics. That's not you judging them. That's just economics.
Right. You can do it online. I mean, you can literally, now that the motto for the last year and a half, we were shut out of our four walls of our churches for the most part. Some people still had church. They masked up. They had church. They went and did their recordings at their church because they didn't have access to a studio. But has the model of the church changed during the pandemic for good? Do you ever see it going back?
It's permanent. Right.
But and the other question is, do you really want to go back into the building like you were? Because I think it hindered us. It hindered our growth. It hindered our effectiveness by always being in the four walls. So what's your opinion?
It was very comfortable to be in the four walls and not dealing with competing opinions and some of the things that we have to deal with now. I mean, first of all, post COVID, our churches have been hybrid. We have hybrid ministries. When we were waiting for Bishop to come on, Amir, we were listening to you online, but you were at home, but you were having your Bible study, and that your numbers, I didn't even see the numbers, but I know your numbers in your Bible study are stronger than they were when people had to come inside the building on a Wednesday.
Right.
And it's cool for us. Some of my boys, some of my friends, females and males in the ministry, are like, yo, I like this. They ain't going back to the old model at all. It's all digital. You want to hear me? Come hear me online. And that's it. I don't need to rent a building. I don't need lights. I don't have to deal with a leaking roof. I don't have to sell chicken dinners. I don't have to greet the people afterward. Boom, boom, boom. You want to hear me? Come on, get off. Go to somebody else's church.
Right.
Right. So I mean, what do you do, Amir? And for those that are listening, y'all can get mad because I'm not calling them by their titles, but I've known these two gentlemen. Well, I've known Hassan for over 40 years, and I've known Amir well over almost 30 years. So
Right.
I can call them by that. And that's the other, by the way, and again, no disrespect to anybody out there watching. But the other thing is this, why is it that the black church is so hung up on titles? Nobody can call you. I should be able to call them Pastor James, Reverend James, Pastor Amir, but we got a bishop this and bishop that, and I asked them both to put their titles on the screen tonight, by the way, because they both earned them. So that's why their titles are on the screen, because they're both earned titles for them. They ain't somebody that just went and paid $19.99 and got them. I'm just saying right now. I'm just throwing that out there. But Amir,
I just want to address T.O. Atkinson in the comments, because T.O. said, and that's one of the downsides of completely going digital, is that it is hindering ministry. I mean, relationship, where the building becomes a meeting place for us to actually touch people and to be touched and to have relationship. And Gilbert said we did pay. Yeah, we paid, but it wasn't $19.99. Let me tell you something. That was 15 years of grueling classes, But anyhow, what I'm saying about the hybrid ministry is that some people have gone to one extreme from the other. And brick and mortar is a problem even for retail right now.
Right. Correct. Sears,
brick and mortar.
JCPenney's gone.
Brick and mortar is a problem for even for taxi companies and hotels. Like when you think, okay, people need somewhere to sleep, but you don't have to own the property. Someone else can own it and you pay them a fee. This is why Uber is doing so well. This is why what is that? Airbnb. That's why Amazon is doing so well. The world has changed to this hybrid model. We still need food. We still need transportation. We still need hotels, but how we deliver those services have changed. And the church has to know that COVID forced some of us late arrivals. We're not early adopters, but Jake's and many of the mega ministries were doing e-churches beforehand because they understood this is the model. And so COVID just accelerated that shift for the church.
So now, how does, and Amir, you can answer this too, how does the COVID shift impact how you do ministry? In other words, because you're not in the building now full time, can your buildings be put to other uses to help the community in need? Can it?
Well, I got a whole different perspective on community. The ecclesia, the Kirkon is a local building. The ecclesia is the entire body of Christ. Then helping the community. Man, I gotta be careful because we're talking as preachers.
Man, say what you say, man. Listen, speak how you need to speak.
But I'm trying to say, I think it goes back to men being in the home. Men responsibility. I never was the kind of cat that would look for the church to pay my light bill.
Ooh.
I didn't look for the church to feed my family. So I got a different perspective. And I did what I had to do to feed my family, feed my sons. I don't know why we always think the church should be, we should. Jesus said, when you was hungry, you didn't feed me, and I was in prison, you didn't visit me. Under the fox have nests and all that kind of stuff. But, I think blessed is the child that has have his own and help him to pull himself up by his own bootstraps. We oftentimes, the black church, we focus so much on the poor that we miss the rich. You never see us saying, let's do something for the rich. They have more issues than folks than poor. You never see, let's bless the rich kids. We always want to gear our church on doing something for the community. I don't like to give out book bags no more because if you do a statistic, most of our kids that we give them book bags cannot read. How about let's give them books and teach them how to read the books that's in the bags? So I think a lot of the concept has to change. The mindset has to change and why we do things. But, there is a difference between a house party and a party at the club. There's things that go down at the club that don't go down at the house party. So, right. There's a difference thing. We have virtual church.
I've never been to a house party.
So now we lying? Is that what we do tonight?
Local church that we can't do at our house. So, but what I think I like about post-pandemic has given the authenticity of real worship, because those that's there post-pandemic is even for the glory of God to come in and less foolishness post-pandemic.
Yeah.
But pre-pandemic, you had everybody. But those that are there now want to be there, regardless if it's 25 or 125 or 200, and it makes the church run more smoother, and that's just the truth. So you really ain't lost when you thought you lost, because a lot of people that's giving, they go still give, but those that didn't give wasn't giving anyway.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that that post pandemic, and even during the pandemic, we had to retool our the brick and mortar.
Yeah.
That we had to find creative ways to make that thing still make sense.
Yeah.
Of course, we built these television studios in our house, to make sure that we're able to produce something that helps us to grab people's attention online, social media, and through our websites and so on and so forth. But like we had cut a deal with the county to house the homeless in our building.
Right.
So we have 60 beds in there for men.
Right.
They sleep there every night. We feed them 3 meals a day. It uses the space to help the community, but we're also giving out, we had supply chain problems in our country and food, a food desert.
We still have supply chain problems in the country.
Right. And we have a food desert in my community in the middle of 6 projects. We got 3 supermarkets, for 98,000 people. And so having them deliver food, fresh vegetables, with color and, fresh food so that people can eat, was something we had to do and have to continue to do. Using the building, we're in the middle now of doing a daycare center, because now that the unemployment benefits have run out, they got to have affordable and trustworthy daycare centers for their children. And so the church is able to use our space to do those kind of things. These are some of the retooling of our buildings. And, we were thinking about putting a franchise a Subway or Dunkin' Donuts in one of the, in the annex or something like that, doing things like that to provide jobs, create jobs. Of course, the daycare creates jobs, and even the homeless shelter creates jobs, and helping the poor. So those are ways we can use the space in the building and still be able to now put Sunday school online, put Bible study online, prayer meeting can be hybrid, but the worship service, those who need to come and be prayed for, hands laid on them, those kind of things, you can't do that online. Right. You got to do that in person.
You have to do that in person. And I can say this. I've been watching, of course, I see you on Sunday mornings at, 10 o'clock. And then, I see that you go into your church service also, at 10:30, 11 o'clock. And it's definitely a change, right? I can see the difference in, you preach a great word at 10 o'clock, but at 10:30, 11 o'clock, when you're in with the people, even the altar calls are totally different energy. And I think Amir has been back in church for a while now, and even his altar calls and his preaching has changed, from being online to being in the church with people. It's definitely a different energy there. Now, both of you have traveled overseas for planning churches overseas and doing work overseas, missionary work. I know, Hassel, you've been to Haiti, you've been to you go to Africa all the time. You're in Honduras,
Guatemala, Ecuador.
Guatemala, Ecuador, yeah. And so Amir, you just came back. He probably still has jet lag because he just came back from Dubai. It was last week you just got back, right?
Yeah.
How was that experience over there for you? Because I saw a video you posted of them dancing, and it was so African, it was so black, it was so cultural. I was like, yo, it was masculine. It wasn't, it wasn't
tiptoeing.
They weren't tiptoeing. They weren't tiptoe dancing. They weren't, twiddling on their twinkle toes. How was that experience over there for you?
It was lovely. It was super fantastic, man. It was the Eastern culture worship. Well, the Eastern cultures, well, the East is where the gospel originated. So it was wonderful. You seen men acting like men. They were bold. They were forthright. They came to really, in the UAE, they allow them to worship, but they don't really have legalized churches. They have to rent different halls, so they don't have just churches. They have to rent places. So it was people that was there wanted to be there, and it was a life and death threatening situation to some people. So it was a hunger. So man, it was lovely. It wasn't full of idolatry like we have in America.
Wow. And even the music, and Hassel, I've seen your videos while you're over there, but the music was, it wasn't no CCM being played over there. I was like, the only CCM they had over there was Kenya singing. And even she was like, I was like, okay, I'm sorry, First Lady May for all your members online, but it was cultural to Black people. It was rhythmic. It was, you felt it. It was. I thought I was listening to a Fela Kuti CD for a second because it was Afro beats, and I was like, they getting it in.
Right.
Getting it in. So James, was that your experience over in Africa? Because you've gone to several countries in Africa. Was that your experience over there, or have they westernized their worship?
I think it's a mixture, and some of the pastors, depending on which country. We were in Tanzania, Zambia, we were in Ethiopia, Burkina Faso, Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, of course. Many of them are struggling to keep their own traditional music going because just culturally, American culture is very pervasive in the world. Very, very pervasive in the world because we control the entertainment world for many. And but their music was very, they didn't have to be hit with a ball of fire to give God praise. If they were able to dance freely to the music without the prudent, that European prudeness, because Europeans can't take the freedom of our use of our bodies. They think everything is sexual, and it's not. And the church in America has adopted that any movement. That's why our tiptoe on our the little dance we do it's really it's a West Virginian. That ain't stuff. That's some of their folk music. That ain't our music.
Right.
We don't move like that, and it's very stiff. There's nothing in the hips. It's all in the feet and the arms, and you gotta be making ugly faces, and this is American dance, the American shout. It's like, but over there, it's beautiful. They're smiling at each other. They're lifting their hands. The music is moving them. And it's natural and free, and you don't have a headache. You don't have to pass out after you danced or anything like that. I loved it, and you can call me critical, but I've seen too much of the world to be overly impressed with the American manifestation.
Yeah, I was shocked when I saw the video, and both of your videos, his recent video. I was like, oh, wait, they really dancing. They really like. I can get with this, it was.
John said, "I'll give God a praise." You let me do it like that.
You let me do it like that, where I ain't looking like no.
Dante, you ever shouted? You ever shouted in church?
No, but I can make him shout though, because it's all an emotional thing for a lot of people.
He never got up off the drums and just picked them up and put them down.
Nah,
they was getting it, man. Let me tell you something.
Hassle, they were getting it in.
I led prayer with them,
I think I saw
it. When they bought 200 million prayer, I felt like, man, let's go to war. This was Wakanda forever. Yeah, man, it was nice. It was very nice.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm gonna have to go over there. I promised my brother I was gonna go to Africa with him whenever we can go back, and then I definitely want to go over to Dubai.
Me too. Now, I've been through Dubai to get to Tanzania, but never really got a chance to see. That's an expensive nation.
Yeah,
I saw. Now, did you bring back those robes that you had on while you were there?
Yeah, I had them custom made while I was there.
Oh, that's dope. I know both of y'all make me sick with that custom made stuff from over there. Bring them over here because you
can't buy nothing off the rack because American men are big. We big. We big dudes, and I mean, I ain't 6'0", and so I know he got to get his custom made.
Right.
Got to, man.
Cool. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad I got two brothers with that experience over there. So how do we? But with that experience that you had, how did you bring that back home? How does that translate for you back home into your worship service and what you do? And Hassel, how did your travel influence what you do at home also?
It changed me, and everybody saw it when I came back. First of all, who I am as an apostle or as a pastor, bishop, you get an understanding of the spiritual nature of who you are away from the structures you grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
That, because I'm fairly young. I've been trained in this Baptist thing, and then here I am curious and learning, and I'm moving with prophets and apostles in a very spiritual environment that is more spiritual than anything I've seen here. And so now you come back, you can't unsee that. You can't unfeel that.
Nope.
And so now your people are trying to go, what happens? It was almost like when Moses went to the mountain. He went to another dimension. He saw things no one else saw. And when he came back from the mountain, he couldn't unsee that.
Right.
And they saw the difference in his face and his countenance.
Right. And that's what happened to us. I had a meeting with some of my close associates, like, man, we got to do this. And the focus of the meeting began to turn on each other. I was like, I ain't called this for this. This is exactly what I'm talking about. They go after God's face when most Americans go after God's hand. And that's they want the provision and without seeking God's face. And it's a thirst over there, man. It's just you just different. You just come back different.
So May's members are in there. When Hassel was talking, she posted, "That's how my pastor came back talking." So he came back talking like you, Hass. That experience.
Open, man. It's been 6 years, and I told you the story, Dante. The prophet Frank Asari was ministering, and first of all, the boldness and the like, without the click tracks and the hype of America and all of it actually is foolery to me now. And I'm not disrespecting anybody, but after seeing how things move without us being Caucasian, I'm not trying to be like the Europeans. I'm saying this prophet calls out a woman in the service who was sleeping with her father. Her father was sleeping with her. And he says it prophetically. There's someone here. Now in America, ain't nobody coming up to admit that.
Man, they so bold, man.
The woman came up. The woman, Amir, the woman came up. She looked like a boy. She was very thin. When he finished praying for her, we found out she is 4 months pregnant, and the baby was dead in her womb. The prophet laid her on the altar where he had been preaching, and just let the Lord minister to her. And he didn't do nothing. She just laid there in front of me and my boy, Dr. Bostic. And a few minutes later, you saw her breast filled with milk and her sweatshirt literally just rise like this. And then her stomach was jumping like this, where the baby was resurrected.
My God.
And then the prophet, when he ministered to her, there was no joy on her face. And he says, now where are the pastors? She needs counseling.
Wow.
The fivefold ministry in operation right in front of you. This ain't a book. This is the practical building of the church. That changed me forever.
The story changed. The story has that impact right now. Everybody online, even Amir sitting there just shaking his head like that's we don't see that anymore here in America. We just don't. We rarely do. We don't see.
It's starting to happen. I believe that we are getting these experiences so that we can bring that back. And so if I'm in church, I'm looking for that. I'm looking to play my role.
Right.
And for others to play their role. And so I didn't come back as the hero. I came back saying, let's go find that power. Let's go find that function so we can do that here, because America is the biggest mission field in the world right now.
Right. Correct. Correct. So you're both of you guys, and they both have been teaching on the same thing. So we were listening to May's Bible study earlier. He's teaching on forgiveness. Hassel's been teaching on. He's been teaching on some of everything. Today was forgiveness, but he's been teaching a series by Bishop Dag Mills. Is his name?
Mills.
Dag Heward Mills.
From Ghana.
Well, yeah.
On loyalty and disloyalty.
And he's been teaching that for almost a month now.
15 of his books right here. I'm reading away from the thing. I got 92 of his books.
Wow. So let's talk. I'm gonna shift a little bit. Let's talk about forgiveness. Why forgiveness is more for us than it is for the other person, I believe, because when you forgive somebody, that means that you're kind of resolving yourself to not let that situation, that issue stress you out, even in terms of someone that betrays you, because you're going to be betrayed. There are friends that I've had. There are pastors that I've had that have betrayed me in ways that I would have never thought they'd done. And I had to give it to myself to, you know what, forgive them. It is what it is. I ain't got to mess with you. I ain't got to fool with you. But I said fool because my father and mother are up here listening. So, I'm going to say fool. But for me, because I didn't want to carry that nonsense no more, I had to forgive it and be done with it. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Forgiveness for you. I'm gonna start with Amir and then go to Hassel. What's your cheat in 90 seconds, Amir? What you taught tonight during your Bible study about forgiveness?
Well, forgiveness is not just for you. I mean, for person, it's actually for you. Because if you don't learn to forgive, you end up pistol whipping somebody or hurting somebody. Because most of the time, the person that's hurt you is the person you entrusted with your heart.
Yeah. I mean, I ain't gonna pistol whip nobody.
Like, yo, Amir, you from New York?
No.
You from New York?
Yeah, he from Michigan. Just same thing. Michigan, New York, all the same thing.
So the difference between, you got to know, I was talking tonight, as betrayal comes, you got to know when to sever or when to restore. Because some betrayal is done in ignorance, and then it's premeditated betrayal. So you got to know what is with, and then learn how to forgive and what to forgive and move on.
Yeah, all right. Moving on sometimes is the hard part for a lot of people.
Right.
That's hard that's like Cassandra talking about they rough in New York. Hassel, what about you? Because you're talking about loyalty and disloyalty, and part of loyalty and disloyalty is betrayal and forgiveness, right?
Right, so treachery. And so what we talked about, the lesson was about dangerous sons and about how Absalom, when his brother Amnon raped his sister Tamar, Absalom plotted from that day to kill Amnon. And his bitterness and unforgiveness made him very dangerous. And the reason why, and if 90 seconds, I'm almost done.
Go ahead, man.
The reason why he was so dangerous is because unforgiveness is like makeup. It's like weave, makeup, nails, and toenails painted, beautiful perfume. It's all of that. It's plastic surgery that attracts demons. They see someone bitter, and their gangs of them are attracted to you because of the bitterness. It's an open door. It's an invitation to demonic activity in your life that only brings destruction to everyone around you. The rebellion, the murder, the intrigue, and his ultimate murder was rooted in his unforgiveness. And so that's what this morning's lesson was about.
That's powerful.
Okay. Yeah, man. Listen. But that's why I hang out with both of y'all. I hang out. I got two powerful preachers that I got more than two of them. Because if I had all my preacher friends on here, y'all be like, wait, there's no room. And they're all talking over one another. It's way too many. I'm the only one that's not really. Even Mo was up here now. Mo's a preacher too. I'm the only one that's not a preacher.
Mo's coming on.
Yeah, he's on. He's doing something. He's waiting to turn his camera.
No, we're supposed to be there Friday. You'll be in Raleigh Friday, right?
Yeah, I'll be in Raleigh. Yeah, of course. You know good and well I wasn't gonna be able to miss that. For those that don't know, Bishop Stenneth Powell we're celebrating his 70th birthday and his 31st year of pastoring. So Amir and I met at Abundant Life way back in 1997, and we're like, I came in 97. And so, but we've been instant friends since. I mean, there was a whole group of us, the Brat Pack, between Amir, Flowers, Bowser, Leonard, Wah, who else? Rogers, Maurice Rogers. So it's a group of us that are Williams, and so we'll all be there on Friday night, I'm sure. All right, so
you bring your liquor?
Did you say I'm bringing some what?
You bring your Hennessy?
That's what I thought you said. Are you bringing your liquor? Well, they got the Quartet group singing, so there'll be some cigarettes and liquor somewhere. The Quartet group singing. All right, if you listen to this,
hey man, all the quartets, they're the only people that get away with putting the cigarettes in their pockets and everybody see it. Everybody cool with it too. Right.
They country. Listen, between the Quartets and the Baptists, it is what it is. It is. They said, "Why hide it? We gonna do it anyway."
Yo, listen, my bishop, his father pastored in Kentucky. They had a smoking room in the church, in the front of the church when we went to Louisville, because they sell tobacco. That's their staple product in Kentucky. So it's like, yo, why not have a smoking room since we're selling the cigarettes anyhow? Let's not be hypocrites.
Right. Let's not be hypocritical. Listen, if you're going to do it when you leave the church, all right, look, let me put you this way. If you're in the church parking lot and you're going to light up a cigarette in your car and everybody see you light up a cigarette in your car, it is what it is. Don't, everybody know you smoke, niggas. Cut it out. Cut it out. Cut it out. All right, I don't go too far. Y'all got
no. I didn't know where you was going with that one, because you was like, whatever you do outside the church, you should do in the church. That's
we're not gonna do it. Well, I mean, some of y'all have already done that. As youth, we're all church boys. Okay, let's just tell the truth. We're all church boys. There's some things that we ain't proud of that happened in church. All right. Amir at your granddaddy's church, Hassel at your daddy's church, at Ebeskeezer, at my granddaddy's church, at Soul Slaving, and all over the place.
You can't muscle Dante, can you?
It is what it is.
No.
It is.
I'm gonna just talk over him here. Let me see. Boo.
Yeah, like boo. All right, so let's switch. Get off of church for a second. We've been up here for 50 minutes. We talked about that. Church is who we are. I mean, we're church boys. It is what it is. They're pastoring. I'm friends with a lot of pastors, a lot of preachers. Church is my family business. It is what it is. All right. So that's why we talk about it. That's why we're passionate about it. But I want to talk about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. That is a big buzzword now in corporate America. They're actually paying people big money to become DEI experts. And I see it. I was on a call today because they were talking about black or minority home ownership. So black and brown people and minority home ownership. And it struck me. So I made that post today, and a lot of people can go on my Facebook page and read it. But I posted that because, I think that the words that are coming out of corporate America are crap. I think it's disingenuous. I think that, they can announce initiatives all they want to, but where does the money really go? So they want to lend to black and brown people. They want to do this. They want to do that. But if they all did that, and if they targeted black and brown people the way that they're supposed to, our home ownership rate wouldn't be at 44%, which is what it was in the 1960s. Right. So it's actually lower now than it was in the 70s and 80s.
Yes.
And that's problematic. So what do we do? I mean, I work in the industry. I work in the mortgage industry. I know what happens. I see how many people that look like me have gone, in management positions, in senior management positions, in decision-making positions. And it saddens me. So for all of those that are in corporate America, what does diversity really mean? What does DEI really mean to you? And then what are we going to do? What are we going to do as a community to tell these, not only mortgage lenders and banks, but to everyone else that, not only do our lives matter, but our money matters too. What are we going to do to start holding ourselves up and and collaborating on things that will help our community. That's my question to everyone. What are we going to do?
Well, you do. Yeah, go ahead. You do
No,
know the
Bishop
black
May, go ahead.
community. The black community have it's two. We have two communities within one.
Okay.
I think we have the have and have nots.
All right.
And we have the rich, the poor, and in between. And so a lot of times, we need diversity amongst ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
We need diversity. It's bad when the ones that are holding up is your brother. I mean, it's bad. We typically we just don't. We're not very diverse when we make it. Even when we arrive and we get to a certain status, 6-figure income, 7-figure income, we tend to move our houses out of the inner city. We tend to move our children out of the public schools. We tend to go to another church. We tend to leave our black church with a church and go to a one-name church.
You're saying they're going to Elevation?
Yeah, I mean that may give them feel like they're credulous. But most hoods is where Caucasians really.
Hassel laughing because he's like, "Yo, that's cool." I said it. They can't be. They said, "No, it is what it is. It's the truth."
Yeah, it makes them feel. So we need diversity amongst ourselves. We fighting before we even get to European diversity to help us. We got to help ourselves. We fighting ourselves, man. But maybe y'all can help it more.
Is it a case of when we make it, we feel we don't, even though we're supposed to reach back and help other people out? And I've tried to do that. I've been accused of being a racist because I hire a lot of black people. So we had one, they filed an EEOC complaint against me because all my managers were black, except for one. And I'm like, well, somebody actually did that. And I'm like, what's the issue? Because when y'all get in positions of power and when y'all do the hiring, y'all tend to hire people that look like you and think like you. So why shouldn't I do the same thing?
Somebody on here type said y'all hired them.
Yeah, that wasn't on me, and I know who it is. And I almost said the name, and that wasn't on me. That wasn't on me. That wasn't on me. Well, it wasn't. Let me put you this way. Sometimes a no is a blessing. All right. Let me just tell you. Let me just say it like that. It wasn't your time. And if you believe in the full word of God, then sometimes the answer is no. He ain't gonna open up the door for you that you ain't supposed to walk through.
No, he done went to the word on him. Listen, you gotta trust God, baby.
You gotta trust God. You gotta trust God.
You gotta trust God. You gotta trust God.
You gotta trust His timing. I can't hire you right now, but God's got a blessing.
And I wasn't your name on it. I wasn't the hiring. I wasn't the decision maker on that one. But I'm telling you that it wasn't your time. And be happy. Be happy. All right.
Well, yeah.
Yo, the comments are killing me right now. You're stupid.
No, they stuck on my screen. I guess I need to go on. But for me, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? I think that Bishop May kind of he nailed it. That there are things that we could be doing for ourselves. For instance, if we were to use our own banking, and I think that the capacity for that has grown over the last several years with digital banking, that we'll be able to pool our resources and be able to lend to ourselves in ways that we couldn't do before. I think some of those barriers have been lowered. And I think with cryptocurrency and some of the other things, we may be able to do that even at higher levels. I think that the models that NACA is using, even the company you work for, I'm just saying, but the company you work for has allowed a redistribution of wealth in a certain extent, but many of us don't take advantage of that. Allegedly, I'm sorry, Don. Thank you. But that we don't take advantage of many of the opportunities for us, because I think that there is some systematic issues or systemic issues that are hindrances to equity. But I think our thinking is I think it's one of the larger impediments, the way we think, the way we move, that we are we are overly connected and loyal to urban situations that block the opportunity for homeownership for us. That and our thinking is so territorial that we can't think out of the box to get those new opportunities and then build on them. Nothing wrong with living in the city, living in a penthouse or whatever, but having property where you have land and you're able to enjoy the space and to be able to afford it.
Right.
You know, I think because we mess up our own credit and we live beyond our own means, we're flossing for one another, and therefore the lending rates are lower because we're not qualified.
Right. Affordability is a big thing. I mean, we have the cars, we have the credit cards, y'all financing trips. Negroes are financing hair. I don't understand. Why the hell you financing hair? Why are you financing bundles?
You
that don't make any sense.
You got a mortgage on your weave?
No, it doesn't make any sense. You taking out loans to buy hair. That doesn't make sense. Do your own hair. Stop taking out. Yo, I'm not joking. I've seen it with my own eyes. When you ask,
who finances with? I would open a company. I didn't know that was a thing. I would lend money for weaves. Like credit lines.
What they do is like those 4 payment things that they all have now, like PayPal. Everybody's doing it now. Cabbage and all those companies, they're doing to spread it out over 4 payments. So these companies have gotten smart, and they're like, oh yeah, you go ahead and pay it over 4 payments. It's crazy to me. Yes, Affirm. She was
that's why we got Magic coming to help us out with some of our business adventures.
Yeah. Oh, you're just gonna put that out there right now, huh? We just talked about this last night.
When is that? I'll be there.
February 2022.
February.
I'll be there.
February 22. We locking the date in this week, and we're gonna have them come in. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it is what I mean. We really need, yes, that organization that I deal with, as a consultant to them, they do great work on getting people. Now, people complain about the process that they put people through, and it's a stringent process. It's not an easy process because, let's face it, they have thousands of people coming through there every week. And they maybe have 180 counselors. That's a lot of people to try to deal with every week. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of it you can also do on your own. You don't need them to do it because you can figure out how to budget. As much as I don't like Dave Ramsey, some of his principles to me are off. But but budgeting, you can Excel, you can YouTube how to put together a budget. You can Google how to put together a budget. We have to stop, we need to stop financing trips. Yeah. The easiest way to a 700 FICO score is pay the people that you borrow money from. Pay the people that you borrow money. It's simple.
Now you're giving the secrets away. See, we could have made money off of that. We could have built up a webinar on how to get a 700 credit score and get everybody to pay $50 and then say a whole
bunch of stuff. I'm not going to rip my people. I refuse to rip the people.
No, that's great advice, man. I'm telling you.
And we both
worked in that industry, and I get it.
Right. I know you get it. Matter of fact, James taught me the business. He's the one that got me. Well, he didn't get me in the business, but he was working where I interviewed at, and then he got in trouble for not referring me. But that's a whole nother story.
I didn't know you're smart like that.
Yeah, asshole. He's such an idiot. He's such an idiot.
For real, I just discovered how smart Dante is. I thought he was an egghead.
Yeah, dun-da-da. Yeah, dun-da-da.
Yeah. He's smart, man. Dante is smart.
But I mean,
you is smart, you is kind, and you is important.
Yeah, I'm important, all right. Right. Sean said it best. Sean just said it best. Pay them people they money. Listen, that is the easiest way to a good and here's the trick.
Sean?
But y'all know listen, man, we don't have the same opportunities as other people have. So therefore
I agree with that.
Chaos, but in the midst of chaos, opportunities created. So we got a chaotic financial world, Black people. So we got to learn to create our own, like Hispanics. I mean, if you got just like my son was trying to do, he knew I couldn't do it, but he was trying. The people that moved from Michigan to here, he was trying to say, let's get a 5-bedroom and let's live together. And to the next one, move out, stack up their money, stack up. But we just can't get together, man.
That's
Now they do
collective
that.
finance.
Other cultures do that. Other cultures
And
definitely do
I'd
that.
rather our people begin talking about susus instead of pyramids.
Yeah.
Yo, there is not one damn person that tried to get me into a pyramid scheme last year that's rich right now. I don't know a single person that's rich right now that tried to get me into a pyramid scheme last year. Okay, I lost. Matter of fact, I joined one just because a friend of mine asked me to, and I lost money. And
Oh,
you
you
know what?
talking?
You know what? I lost one. I lost money. It was like $25, but I lost money because I was like, all right, this is $25. It is what it is. I spent $25 on well, I spent $25 on Blackwater, Harry, Michael, Blackwater. Um, so
I'll
it is
make
what it
sure
is.
Mike knows that. I'll
yo,
probably
yo,
talk to her tomorrow.
you tell Mike, Mike, Dante really getting on you on this podcast every week. He announced a Blackwater. Tell him I don't want no daggone sponsorship. Just send me some free water. I'm tired of ordering this stuff every week. Tired of order. Just put it on auto delivery for me. That's all. You know,
But I think though that the self-determination piece is really where I focus. But the inequity and systemic things that are there as hindrances, I think that corporations are speaking to it, especially in under homeownership and business lending, those kind of things. But really, the they have shifted the diabolical practices from their underwriters to the realtors and to the to the appraisers.
So I can safely say this, and I will say this. And look, I've been in the mortgage industry for 26 years, 27 years. I have rose to the heights. God has blessed me to see some things that most people will never see, ever. Between all the litigation I've worked on the last 10, 12 years, in the rooms with the CEOs of these major companies. And I'm not talking about NACA. I talk to Bruce Marks every day. But I'm talking about the CEO of Wells Fargo, the CEOs of Bank of America, the attorneys who represent these big corporations and helping them understand credit policy, understand credit risk, understanding how to litigate loans, teaching them how to do that. But I can tell you this, the discrimination and biases start before a Black person even gets to the point of seeing an underwriter at a lender. It starts with the realtors. It starts with where they take you to visit the homes. So when you're out looking for a mortgage, you go and look for a home first. Typically, you try to go and find a home first and something that you can afford. And if you call a realtor that does not look like you, or a lot of times we'll call a realtor that doesn't look like us because we think they'll treat us better. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not, because depending on the list, or you see a house that you like and you're just going to call that listing agent. If you look a certain way, they're not going to take you. They're not going to take you to Huntersville. They're not going to take you to Huntersville. They're going to take you to the Plaza in Charlotte, even though that area is gentrified now. They're going to take you. They're not going to take you to Chamber Street, or they're not going to take you to Meadow Hill. They're going to take you down to Lander and Chamber Street and get you to buy down there in Newburgh. That's just what they're going to do. They're going to, redlining is real. Redlining that happened back in the 40s and 50s after World War II was very real. That the lenders.
Dante, but why do we keep? Well, let's just be honest. We can't be honest because people can't have it.
No, you can be honest. Please be honest.
The white man is the biggest thief that ever walked the earth.
We celebrated that yesterday. That's not a secret.
Well, we're going to talk about Christopher Columbus.
They're gangsters, man. And we just continue to. We talk about it, but a lot of the teachers profile with separation is going to determine our reparation. We want to come up off of people that have oppressed us, and it's not going to happen. We have to have our own system, our own. So what they do, they make you a millionaire, they make James a millionaire, but then they tell us, everybody else, you got to get it like you feel it. Even our drug dealers, they just strip them to nothing when they allow their drug dealers to send their kids to school, transition, educate, and they become senators and presidents. So it's the only way we're going to get something. We can get it as individuals, yes, but collectively, as the Susu, That's the best way. So we all pool our money for a common investment, a common goal.
And we have to be trustworthy, and that takes character. But I like how Bishop May, for real, Mayor, he said it so fast. He says, they get to come up and they become presidents and senators. He said it in such one breath. It was so powerful. For real, it shook my whole world. How they don't allow us the moments, our gangsters, they don't allow our hustlers
let's strip them down
to catch their breath, but the Rockefellers and
the Kennedys,
that they was head busters,
they made their money during Kennedy's made his money during Prohibition, selling alcohol.
Yeah. So will Black people, just talking about economics, since marijuana is going to be legal, will we sell it legally,
or will we preach against it?
No, but listen.
He said, "No, I ain't preaching against it."
Because why would you preach against it? It's causing healing to some people.
Right. Wow. Say that
you
again
for
people in
preaching
the back.
Against pork and versus preaching against marijuana.
And see, now you're meddling.
Preach against pork.
I think that the Lord touched the pig's belly twice because he was so cute.
You're so dumb. You're so dumb.
Oh, gosh.
The pork belly is the best thing on the earth. I think he touched it twice. I think he said, you're so cute.
You're so stupid. I mean, but listen, why is it? And so, right, full circle, not only homeownership, we talk about business loans. Do me a favor. For all y'all that took out those PPP loans and y'all don't have a real business, pay it back now. Pay it back now. Please don't go to jail over a couple of dollars. Please don't ruin your life over a couple of dollars. They're auditing everyone. It's not a game. If you don't have a real business and you put something down on paper just to get some free money last year, it's not free. They're going to find out. They're coming after people. So please be careful. Please be careful with that. And then on the flip of it, I know that and Amir, you might get mad at me for sharing this, but I'm going to say this out loud. Even how our churches are have to borrow money. It's a problem for our churches who are doing well financially, and we cannot find lending at reasonable terms. Terms
that trying to rape us.
The organizations that we belong to. It doesn't make sense that our largest Pentecostal organization does not have a credit union, does not have a lending arm to help churches that are growing, that are credit worthy, get a loan. It doesn't make sense that our largest Baptist associations, all of them.
Well, large doesn't mean healthy.
Whoa. Doggone it.
They cesspools, man. and see, now we both about to get blackballed, but the truth is man, they're worthless in certain instances, because whatever comes in is devoured by the people at the top before any good can be done. And I don't even get me started at the local level, how much the musicians take out of the churches before you can even do missions.
Well, see, that's the point. That most of our, and then you all buy these 20,000 LED screens, and your church look like a shack. So, and then these are kind of things. That's what we got to realize. That anytime your biggest budget, if you work, a church with a denomination with 6 million people should never be ran off of offerings. Ooh. And then you you got $6 or $9 million, and most of those the expenditures go out to honorariums. That is bad business.
Yeah, that's not business. That's a scam.
That's right. That's just crazy. You could do a lot of things with a lot of people, with a crowd like that. But again, Bernard Jordan has 23 members, but he do like 23 million a year. It's not always a massive
business.
But he also, Bernard Jordan also got an inheritance from Reverend Ike that that changed his life forever.
Yeah, that's true too.
He's an investor, and he's a brilliant man. And he shut down his church and just went on a conference call for 10 years. because he was ahead of the curve. He's a seer.
He really was. He really is ahead of the
That's
curve.
what most
He
people
still
need.
is.
Most people need a check. Most good pastors,
I know you were suggesting that even when we talked about why there's a church on every corner, is because everybody want to check. And those of us who work and paid for things for our children, we worked hard so that our children didn't have to depend on the generosity of anybody else. I worked for Beneficial. I had a real estate business. I had a record label. I had a daycare center. We did whatever it took to be able to take care of my kids so that as a pastor, I could keep my integrity and just preach the gospel and love on folk without worrying about what's in the offering.
And that's what happened. A lot of good pastors was too broke to pastor, and they end up stealing.
Ooh. Amir May. What?
No, that's happened. Good pastors. They all wasn't crooked or something. They was too poor to pastor.
There's some good ones. It's just
David said, "Don't make me too poor. I may steal."
Yeah. My goal.
Y'all going to elevation. Dante, all y'all going to elevation. 90
First of all, do not put my name in that.
Dante, you go to elevation?
Absolutely not. Now, you
made it. Now, Dante, you made it.
Now,
you made it. You are.
First of all, good and well, I can't deal with nothing that doing CCM all day, all the time. I barely come to y'all churches because y'all doing CCM all day, all the time.
You be watching the screen.
Nah, not me. Not me. I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. All right. No. My one of the things that I really wish I had, and I need to put together some investors, and not some investors, but some like-minded people to start a lending consortium for Black and brown people for home ownership and for Black businesses that are really going to lend to Black businesses, and then also that will lend to Black.
You get Maurice out of the comments?
I mean,
please?
Maurice was supposed to be on the podcast, but he wouldn't turn his camera on, so I never let him in. I'm not gonna have a blank space up there talking about CCM is wonderful. Trash. And no, I don't go to. There's nothing wrong with elevation. For those that go there, that's on you. That's just not my speed. That or the other, churches around here. I'd rather drive the 40 minutes up to Huntersville than to go there. All right. Or since the new model has changed, I can watch it at home.
I think if you're white, there's nothing wrong with going to elevation.
Amir, I can't stand you. Go ahead and expound on that, sir. Go ahead and expound on that, good sir.
It's okay for us to follow them, but they don't follow us. They're trained not to follow us.
No, that's true.
You're not going to find a Black pastor, Black wife that pastors a 90% all-white church. They don't follow us.
No, they're not going to do it unless we're not from America. Right. I've seen it, but it's African or West Indian pastors who their family have no connection to slavery. It's a spiritual thing. It really is.
Yeah, it is.
Dr. Joy DeGruy wrote the book about post-traumatic slave disorder, and basically it outlines why that happens. And
there's no multicultural church.
Yeah,
it's multi-ethnic, but the culture stays the same.
Yeah.
We're the drums, we're the singer, we're the helps, but we're not counting no money. We're not on the boards.
We don't hire and fire. Right. But we can dance a jig and show them how to dance on their tiptoes.
Dance on the tiptoes.
I'm not going against elevation. I'm just saying we would have to have a sit down and say what deems me you worthy for me to follow you, but you won't follow me. That's what I'm saying. And
it's not just them. That's just that's an American thing, right? It's how we were raised. That you cool as long as we separate. You cool as long as you're under me. And that's one of the things that I want to do. I need to in this next phase of where I am. I'm tired of consulting and working for people that know way less than I know. And it bothers me that people have access to they have access that I would never get access to because of the hue of my skin, because of the melanin that I have. I couldn't go to a Wells Fargo and ask them for, $2 million to help me set up my business because I don't think you're lending enough to Black and brown people. But I need to get into those because it's easy. It's so easy. The credit box has changed so much over the last years. Even the credit box has changed because of how we work now, because we're a gig economy. right now. We're a gig economy right now. And so how the lenders haven't adapted yet. They can't adapt. They still have to look at the tax returns, and they have to draw line items, this, that, and the other. It's not even necessary, because if people pay, if they have the ability to pay, and you can look at that by the income that they have coming in, their cash flow, just like a business. You look at their cash flow on their businesses, on the business, how much do they have coming in each month, and what do they have going out every month as legitimate expenses if they're self-employed, and then the willingness to repay. In other words, how do they pay their other creditors? Do they pay their rent? Do they pay their bills on time? That are really, outside of medical bills and things like that, because we know that, health insurance in the United States is crap, because everybody has these large deductibles because the healthcare companies are interested in profit and they're not interested in helping people. And if you can do that, then you can be if that number is affordable to you, then you can be a successful homeowner. And I need smart people in my corner to help me put it together. And then I need to figure out how to get the funding from these banks to do it. I don't need to, and I don't need to get rich off of it either. I need to be able to, I can hire 100 people tomorrow. I can hire 100 people tomorrow with this idea, if not more, paying them good salaries, paying them great salaries. But I don't have the capital to do it. And I don't even know where to go and get the capital from, because
I got it in the couch. I'll bring it to you.
Coming in February. That's why we got to get the whole region of Virginia, Charlotte, and everybody to come in February, man, to this business conference. We're gonna have to ask them. We need him to fund some. We need some collaboration together.
We do. I mean, it's important, and we have millionaires and billionaires in our community, and their funding. I saw where they gave the two guys gave $50 million to this startup where they're going to buy houses for people and let them rent to hope to become homeowners. That's dumb. Like, why don't you just qualify them and get them in the mortgage? If you got $50 million, let me just flip it into mortgage for you long term. If you're going to give the money away, do it in the right way. To me, investing in that is just making cash flow for another company. That's why you have all these companies out there, Invitation Homes and BlackRock and all of them, American Homes for Rent. They're building subdivisions. They're building huge subdivisions, even here in the Carolinas and in Georgia and Tennessee. And they'll put 16 homes in there, rent them out on average for $24,000 to $3,000 a month. That's great cash flow for them.
Yeah, somebody, but it doesn't change the economic situation. It
doesn't change the economic situation of the person. But if you make them homeowners, they get that equity. They'll have the equity. They'll have pride of ownership. That'll put them on the right path to
because you rent in Charlotte, you can buy a home if you rent in Charlotte.
Right. So yes, this turned into a rant by me, but it because I had to deal with that today, and dealing with the on that call today, how, yes, we're all going to do, and we're doing this and we're doing that, and Fifth Third Bank is this, and we're doing this, and the National Association of Homeowners is doing this. I'm like, how? Black home ownership is at 44%, lower than it's ever been. So what are you really doing? Yes, you're announcing that you have $2 billion, but where's the money going? Who's the money going to? Why are y'all focused on loan officers?
Yeah, the Civil Rights Bill actually was a fulcrum for Black homeownership. It was supposed to take it higher, and it actually was the fulcrum that made it go lower.
Right.
That whatever they found, it was a policy by, a matter of fact, a New York senator, Moynihan, Daniel Patrick Moynihan. He had a doctrine called benign neglect. That it was his answer to the Civil Rights Bill. He says, just don't talk about it.
Right. And if you don't talk about it, then it doesn't exist.
And you don't enforce the law, and therefore you can operate in the shadows and make things worse.
Right. Wow. So, what do we do to make it better?
It's self-empowerment, self-determination. We've talked about it 100 times today. And, again, one of the things is that we have to operate in integrity as individuals, and the susus and our collective, even the churches. If our leadership would behave themselves better, they would have more to offer, even those who are part of their organizations. But it's going to take integrity.
Wow. Okay. All right.
He's
I hear you.
Amir said it. He says, "Don't make me poor, because I'll rob you.
Oh yeah.
You make me steal. You make me steal when you make me poor. Poverty is a disease."
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Listen to Farrakhan. Farrakhan said it. The biggest crime against humanity is poverty.
Wow. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And but it seems like it's a cycle also.
Absolutely.
It's a cycle. It's a cycle. We have to figure out how to break that cycle. All right, fellas. I thank y'all, man. Y'all hung out.
Hey man, go on Larry Reed. Tell my Drew we're going to snap on Larry Reed.
Who?
Larry Reed, no.
Who's gonna snap on Larry Reed?
He only talking about Mr. Sheard. So
all right. Well, I know Sheard's your boy, so I know. Yeah. Y'all have a good night. Amir, have a good night. Thank you for coming. Hassel, as always, man. I appreciate you hanging out for a little while.
It's my pleasure, man.
I don't know if I'm gonna upload this one. I may, I'm gonna sit on it.
I think it's good stuff. Sean liked it.
Yeah, Sean liked it. Bishop is enjoying those drinks and snacks. Yeah, Amir eating. He gonna eat now. But what you gonna do? But yeah, no, listen. I see some friends up here. My brother's up here. Sean Best is up here. We got people with real doctors. Dr. House is up here. My man Sean Cunningham is up here. Tara Evans is up here. Tara, I guess she's back from Puerto Rico, so I guess she got time to watch tonight. But listen, all y'all people that I'm going to be calling on in the next year to help put this together. I have realtors. We have loan officers, licensed loan officers. I know licensed counselors, HUD counselors. I know underwriters. I know people that work for FHA, for HUD. I know people that she's talking about stop it. I know people that are in positions of authority at some. I know people that are retiring that have been in this industry for years and they're ready to do something different. Let's just do it. But we got to get the funding first, because everybody needs to be comfortable while we're getting it set up. And that's what we're looking for. We don't want no handout. We're going to work. But, let's put our minds together and figure out how to get it done for the next, 40, 50 years, for the next generation. So Black home ownership. So we as Black people don't have to rely on other people to make sure that our people are homeowners. That's what I'm talking about. All right, Tara, I'm going to call you. I'm going to call y'all. All right, Hassel, you be easy, brother.
All right.